Good evening. So, today I want to tell you about something that was on my mind a little earlier in the morning. I was hanging out with a couple of my coworkers, and one of them is a small, feisty little girl who we can call Donna. And Donna's a lot of fun. Um, Definitely a coworker you like working with. But she was being a little bit of a shit disturber. And what I mean by that is we were talking about a mutual coworker, and I was saying, "Hey, I like him. I didn't like him at first because I thought his sense of humor was shitty, but as soon as I learned who he was and not to take him seriously, I thought he was really funny." And she said, "Oh, no, I really don't like him. Just look like what he was saying during last summer during the Black Lives Matter protests." And she starts pulling up text messages. And now myself and one of my other coworkers who was in the room at the time, and probably everybody else in the room, just kind of went like, "Oh no." Because that is a subject where at least I feel like we all kind of agreed that we had different views on it and we were just gonna leave it be. But Donna, or whatever the fuck I decided to call her, really just felt like bringing that up. And so she starts going through and saying, "See," he was like, "Yeah, wrong country, Donna. Like Canadians really shouldn't care." And she's like, "It applies in Canada too." And we're all just sitting there like, mm-hmm. Yep. And eventually she's like, "What? Like, do you guys not like arguing? Like, Isaac, you must like arguing." And what I told her is that when I was younger, I did like arguing. I liked every opportunity I had to show how smart I was, how eloquent I was, and I liked it. I did that a lot. I would jump down people's throats if I thought I could get away with it. The thing is, now that I've grown up a little bit, I just don't like it anymore. And the reason I don't like it is because I think that arguing just to show that you're smart and just to win and to make the other person look stupid, like, it's arguing for sport. And I don't think it's a good use of time myself. I think there's a lot of good reasons to argue. I think anyone who's in a long-term relationship knows that you need to argue about some things sometimes because you need to straighten out parts of your relationship if you're going to keep your relationship. A couple that never argues just isn't going to last. I don't know what to tell you. Or if at least if you don't argue, you need to disagree. You need to have those raw conversations where you say, "Hey, this upsets me, and I want to tell you that it upsets me, and maybe we should figure out a way to make this better." It's also good to argue when you feel like you really do need to stand up for something. I really do think there's something to be said for not tolerating dumb bullshit. If someone says something like, like I remember a girl saying that she felt like my family was responsible, or that all white people were responsible and complicit in racial genocide in our country. And I told her that that was so out of line. And I really pushed back hard on that because she doesn't know a thing about my family. She doesn't know a thing about me except my race, and she uses that to pin racial genocides on me. And I said, "That's completely inappropriate. Don't do that." I think that's a good situation to argue in. But doing what Donna does and just arguing for sport or arguing for fun, it makes me think two things. One, that you're just trying to prove to yourself how smart you are. Or, secondly, that you have no skin in the game. That is something that I think is important for arguments, is you should have some skin in the game. People who just like getting into arguments because they like arguing about stuff, you see this a lot in the philosophy department. People just like arguing because they want to argue. They want to have a rhetorical contest with somebody. And I mean, that's fine if both people are willing participants, but a lot of the time that's not the case. A lot of the time, I remember getting into arguments with people about stuff I did not care about, right? I didn't have any skin in the game in a lot of those arguments. I just wanted to argue with someone because I thought it'd be fun. And it really upsets people sometimes, especially when they do have skin in the game. I can use an example from my own past. I remember in 2016, one of my favorite hobbies was getting people riled up about the American election. It was an emotional election. Everybody was on tiptoes. Everybody was throwing around statistics and isms and ists and, well, this person's a racist and this person's a sexist and Hillary Clinton killed everyone in Benghazi, and everyone was just very emotional about everything. And me, as a younger college student, just liked getting into arguments because I felt like I knew more than pretty much everybody about it, which, I was keenly interested in it. I was following things very closely, so I usually did. But I'm a Canadian, I was arguing with these Americans just because I wanted to, just because I was getting a rise out of it. I don't feel like I had skin in the game. One of my friends pointed that out to me at one point in my life. She said, Isaac, you're not an American. Why are you arguing against people getting public health care in Ohio? It doesn't affect you. And I took that to heart and I thought, yeah, no, you're right about that. I'm not arguing because this is going to affect me. In fact, a lot of the shit I'm arguing about, I don't really believe in that much at all. I'm just arguing because I want to argue, and I'm arguing because it's fun to get people upset over things that you don't care about yourself. And then you can kind of go away and think, I really got them going. But that's not a good reason to argue with somebody. I just make everything a little bit more shitty. And it upsets people. And now, upsetting people isn't bad by itself, but it's also not something that I think you should try to do just for fun. I think it's better to argue when you have some skin in the game, when there's something that you actually care about at stake when you're arguing. For me, my family's heritage is important to me. I don't want people tarnishing it, particularly for racist reasons like your skin is white. I think that's a terrible reason to try to tarnish my family heritage. I don't have a ton of skin in the game when it comes to whether or not certain cities in the United States decide that they want to protest and riot on account of racial injustice. It's not something I feel like arguing for sport about or weighing in on. Frankly, I don't have any skin in the game there. Do I think that Canadian cities like Vancouver should have held the Black Lives Matter protest? No, absolutely not. I think that's hugely inappropriate to do during a pandemic. That was the start of the pandemic. We had already shut down schools. People weren't allowed to visit hospitals, and you want to stage a 1,000-person protest downtown? I thought that was unbelievably irresponsible. Particularly because I feel like Canadians do not nearly have the same type of skin in the game that the Americans do on the topic. But again, that's just me. I don't feel like arguing that for fun or for sport or anything like that, because arguing, well, should the BLM protests have happened at all? It's like, if you're a bunch of college-educated Canadians sitting around in a room, how much skin in the game can you possibly have? Why would you argue about that? I can't see a reason to argue about that unless you're just trying to prove that you're right. Or you're just arguing for fun because it doesn't matter to you. You just want to see people angry. I don't think you should argue just to make people angry. I don't think you should argue just to try to get a rise. I mean, I get it. It's fun. I used to do it, but I don't like it anymore. I think there's good reasons to argue. And I think all of them have to do with when there's actually something important to you on the line. Not just something that you've attached your identity to and that's why it's important to you, but something that's really important to you. Like if the person is wrong, then you stand to lose something important and tangible. Not this weird argument about, well, if I let you say these things, then in some weird way it's gonna come back to hurt me. It's like, I don't really buy that. The world's more complex than that. But anyway, my coworker was basically just trying to get us all to argue for fun and for her entertainment, or to weigh in on a contentious topic. And I just don't think that that's something that I want to do for fun. I don't think it's a good thing to do. But anyway, let me know what you think. Have you felt that in yourself? I'm sure a lot of people have that urge just to argue because you want to or you feel like it's fun, or the urge to argue because you want to be right. Or maybe you think I'm wrong. Maybe you think that it's important to take an activist stance in all areas of your life, and whenever you see something that doesn't align with your activist stance, that you should challenge it openly and publicly to the best of your ability, because that's the only way you shape culture. That would be the best counter argument that I could see, and there's something to be said about it. But yeah, either way, let me know. That's all that's on my mind today. Have a good day.